Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mukesh English. This is Mukesh Soni. In this video, I'm going to have a discussion of a famous ode or the famous poem titled Ode on Grecian Urn, composed by John Keats. So, this video will speak about the line by line explanation of the whole 5 stanzas of this poem. So, let's begin it. Before that, let's know about the poet John Keats, who was born in 1795 and passed away in 1821. John Keats was an English poet of the second generation of Romantic poets with Lord Byron and P.B. Shelley. His poems had been in publication for less than 4 years when he died of tuberculosis at the age of 25. John Keats had a style of a famous style that's called as a heavily loaded with the sensuousness or the sensualities, and especially could be seen in the series of his odes. He brought out extreme emotion through natural imagery. His famous odes are Ode on Grecian Urn, Ode to Nightingale, the sonnet, his famous sonnet on first looking into Chapman's Homer. Now, let's know very briefly about this ode, about this poem. Ode on Grecian Urn. It's not Grecian. Ode on Grecian Urn is written by famous English Romantic poet John Keats in 1819. In which year? It was composed in 1819. And this poem has 5 stanzas. Each stanza has 10 lines and totally 10 lines in total. The whole poem has totally 50 lines. Now let's know about very briefly the rhyming scheme, though it does not have very specific or the continuous rhyming scheme, but the first and the fifth stanza, the first and the fifth stanzas have the similar rhyming scheme: A B A B C D E D and C E. Second stanza has the rhyming scheme of A B A B C D E C E D. The third and the fourth stanzas have the rhyming scheme of A B A B C D E C D E. The first 6 lines of each stanza have common rhyming scheme. If you go through all the 5 stanzas here, the first 6 lines of each stanza have the common rhyming scheme, which is A B A B C D. Okay. Now, few more inputs about this ode. This poem is written in the form of an ode. Now, what is ode? Ode is a form of a poem to praise or to glorify an event, person, thing, or natural scene. Ode means to say it's a kind of a poem which is written in the form of an appreciation or to praise or to glorify an event, a person, a thing, or any natural scene. So, what is Grecian urn here? The poem is about a Greek urn. The poem is about the beauty in classical art and the everlastingness of art, especially the Grecian urn. It is not a Grecian, it is Grecian urn. Throughout this poem, the poet explores the complex emotions which are raised in his heart after seeing the urn. So when you go through this poem, you will also have an experience of such kind of human complex emotions when you read, when you go through this, the stanzas or the poem or the lines of this poem. Now, which literary device has been used here? In this poem, ekphrasis, ekphrasis literary device is used here. Now, what is ekphrasis? Ekphrasis is traditionally a literary description in detail of a painting, sculpture, or the other work of visual art. So when you describe any of the visual arts, painting, sculpture in the form of a poetry, such literary device is called as the ekphrasis. And perhaps the most famous ekphrastic poem is Ode on Grecian Urn by John Keats in the year 1819. So now let's have a discussion of this poem in detail, line by line. Stanza 1. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time. So thou means you. In Old English, we call it thou. Thou here refers to you, thou. And in the very first line, you, and you here refers to the urn. Unravished bride. Unravished bride means the lady who is not touched even after the marriage. So here, in this case, the urn is the bride of quietness. In the second line, the poet says, thou foster child of silence and slow time. Here, the urn is the child of silence and time. Slow time means it is not affected by time's progress. So usually what happens, time runs very fast, but here it is not happening like this because we are talking about an urn which is not alive. So the time passes slowly for this urn. And the foster child means the urn is taken care by silence, the adopted child. Foster child means adopted child. That means to say the urn is looked after. The urn is taken care by whom? By the silence and time, and it is unaffected by the progress of time. Now, next two lines. Sylvan historian who canst thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. So let's try to understand what is the meaning of Sylvan. So by definition, Sylvan means the person who live in the forest, like a person or the animal or the spirit that lives in the forest and which knows everything about the forest. So Sylvan historian means who is located and familiar with the woods, with the jungle, and which is the best person to tell the story of this urn. Who is the best person? Only the Sylvan historian can express the story here. So Sylvan historian means that the maker of the urn who presents a pleasant scene or the image in the woods. The Sylvan historian is the creator of this urn who is presenting to us the interesting images or the interesting scenes in the wood. Canst is an old fashioned word that means the form of can. Now the image or the scene on the urn portrays the history of the Greece. Let's try to understand. The images or the scenes which are on this urn, what are they portraying? They are portraying the history of the Greece. So these images express a beautiful story, and these images are more impressive than the poet's poetry. So that's why he says here, a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. So the stories which are depicted by the images or the scenes of this urn, which are more impressive than his own poems. Okay, now let's move to the line number 5. What leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape, of deities or mortals or of both? So we find here the urn is well decorated with the leaves, with the garland type leaves on both the sides. So the leaves on this urn depict story of gods and goddesses or of human beings or sometimes both. What leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape? The leaves which are carved or which are designed on both the sides of the urn, they are talking about the stories of whose stories? They're talking about the stories of the gods. Deities means gods or the goddess, or mortals. Mortals means human beings, or maybe gods, goddesses, as well as of the human beings. Now, further the poet says, in Tempe or the dales of Arcady. Now, first, let's know what is Tempe or the Arcady. Tempe is the valley in Greece, and Dale is also a valley. Arcady is a famous place in Greece, which is quite very famous for its beauty and also called as the Switzerland of Greece. So these images on the urn, they depict the beauty of Tempe and the valley of Arcady. So the images which are carved on the scenes or the images on this urn, They are depicting the gods and goddesses, human beings, or both, as well as the beautiful valleys of Tempe and Arcady. Okay, I hope you are able to understand. Let's move to the line number 8, 9, and 10. What men or gods are these? What maidens both? What mad pursuit? What struggles to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy? Now the poet says here, the maiden means an old, maiden is very old word for girls. Loth means unwillingness. So the girls, those who don't want, unwillingness by the girls. Pipe and timbrels, both are the musical instruments. Pipe means flute. Timbrels means the small hand drums. So let's know. Again, the John Keats is asking about the images and the scenes which are on this urn. So he's asking, what kind of images are they? Are these images of the gods or any human beings? Are these images of human beings or the gods, or of those maidens, or of those girls who are not willing to be loved by those lovers who are chasing them, or of those girls who are struggling to escape from such lovers? So the poet questions that what kind of images are they? Are these images of men or the goddesses? Or are these images of those girls who don't want to be loved by those mad lovers, those who are chasing them, and these girls are struggling to escape from the jaws of those boys or those lovers? Now, further, he asks, are these images of the musician who is playing the pipes, the flute, or the timbrels, or the drums? So, do these images belong to those such kind of musicians? So he asked that, do the images or the scenes on the urn are of some musical instruments like pipes, timbrels, which produce what? A very eternal music. That's why he called that what wild ecstasy. Why he says the music is played and the people or the gods in the picture are going very much wild. They are ecstatic. They are probably dancing wildly. So such is the beauty of the music, which is played by the musician, by the musical instruments, pipes and timbrels, flute and timbrels. So dear friends, let's try to sum up the stanza number 1. So let me recollect. The poet sees a Grecian urn which has not been affected by the power of time. It has been lying silently on the lap of time. The urn gives the record of a past age very graphically than his own poetry. The urn's borders are encircled with garlands of leaves. The poet asks whether the images which are depicted on the urn are of gods or men or of both, whether they are from Tempe or Arcadia, or who the maidens are, who are these girls who are trying to escape the pursuit of mad lovers, and whether the images belong to the musicians who are playing on pipes and timbrels, and everybody is enjoying those music as like an ecstasy. So dear friends, this is about the stanza number 1. Stanza number 2. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye soft pipes, play on. So this stanza speaks of the things that are not in the scene on the urn. When we look at the urn, we might hear music in our imagination, but that music is not really there. So the speaker of this poem draws our attention to this. The speaker is drawing to the attention of that music which is not heard. And he says that the music which you cannot actually hear, that is the imaginary music, and that music is actually better than the real music. That's why he says here, the heard melodies are always sweet. But what about the unheard music, which are more sweeter? So here is the image. There is a musician who is playing the pipes, but the music is imaginary music and more melodious than the heard music. So the poet says to the musician, what? Ye soft pipes, play on. So the poet says to the musician to continue to play the pipe. So this is about the first two lines of the stanza number 2. Now, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared, pipe to the spirit deities of no tone. Not to the sensual ear, but more endeared. Here the poets, John Keats, he says that such music does not need our sensual or our physical ears. Which music? The unheard music. So what is required then? Such music needs the ears of our imagination, and such music is always loved one, is always endeared, and people always would like to hear such kind of unheard music. Pipe to the spirit ditties of no tone. So ditties means to say simple songs. It's a plural of ditty, ditty. So the poet asked the poet asked the musicians or the pipes to play what kind of song? Ditties of no tone. That means to say the poet asked the pipes to play the songs that don't have any notes, that don't have any sounds, that don't have any kind of music, at least in the real world. So the flutes are told to play with the songs, but they are generally spirit songs sung by ghosts, and such songs do not exist either, because such songs have no tone. They exist only in the imagination of the person who is looking at the urn. When you look at the urn, you can imagine that such songs are being played, which has no tone, which has no notes, which has no sound. That's the reason he says that unheard melodies, unheard music is more sweeter than the heard music or than the heard melodies. Now, the poet further says, fair youth, beneath the trees thou canst leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. Now, these lines teach us another aspect of the art. What is another aspect? The visual art. So, what does visual art do? The visual art always captures only one moment, and later it becomes permanent, it becomes eternal. And we know that the fair youth, the youth always would like to sit under the tree. Fair means beautiful. The beautiful lovers, the beautiful beloved, they always would like to sit under the tree. And the people in this image are always hearing the same song. And the trees will never lose their shade, will never lose their leaves. The trees on the image will always be loaded with the leaves and eternal. So here poet says that the quality of the music, as well as he says that the image which is depicted on the urn is of some fair youth, some beautiful young people, beautiful lovers who are always seen seated beneath the trees. And the song, due to the song, the trees will never shade its leaves. Such kind of images could be seen on this urn. Further, he says, bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal, yet do not grieve. So now, in these two lines, we find here the urn depicts the image of a lover who will never get a chance to kiss his beloved, for which he's waiting for. Still, the lover has won a few points. Still, the lover is reaching to the goal. So the poet says that don't be disappointed, do not grieve. He says to the lover that don't be disappointed if you are not able to kiss the your beloved. Why? She cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss. Forever wilt thou love, and she be fair. Because why does he say to the beloved, to the lover, that don't be disappointed? He says because his beloved's beauty will never fade. She cannot fade. His beloved's beauty will never fade. She will not grow old. She will not grow ugly. So this love and this bliss will never come down. Their love will always be eternal. The intensity of love between them will not decrease. Forever wilt thou love. The intensity of the love will not decrease. It will always be eternal. And she be fair. That means the beloved will always be loyal, will never deceive him. So we can always see these lovers on this image as it is. Whenever we look at this urn, we'll always find the image of these lovers as it is. It seems that they're about to kiss each other, but they don't kiss, but their beauty or their love is quite eternal, is quite everlasting. So now let's summarize the stanza number 2. In this stanza, the music that is listened to by the spirit is sweeter than the music which is heard by our physical or our sensual ears. The youth represented on the urn as playing on the pipe will always go on playing under the tree, which will never shade the leaves. And the lover, who is hotly pursuing the girl, will never succeed in catching and kissing her. But he should not be disappointed because he will never stop to love her, and his beloved will always be lovely, will always be loyal, and such love will never be mortal. It will always be immortal. It will always be permanent and everlasting. So this is about stanza number 2. Stanza 3. Ah, happy, happy boughs that cannot shade your leaves nor ever bid the spring adieu. So boughs here refers to the branches of a tree. Adieu means saying bye. Spring season is depicted here. The urn depicts the image of trees with branches, and these branches will never shade the leaves because it's spring season. And it's an image where we know that in the image, the season will never change. So the leaves never say bye to the spring season, and these trees will always be loaded with the green leaves, and the trees will never shade the leaves. So the spring season will never go, and that's the reason that we can find here eternity. So this is how eternity, the everlastingness, is portrayed here. Now, next, third and the fourth line, and happy melodist, unwearied, forever piping song, forever new. So the next image here, the urn depicts, there's an image of the melodist, there's an image of the musician who is very happy. Why is he very happy? Because he's playing the pipe and he's not tired of playing the pipe. He's not tired of playing the pipe or the flute songs, which are also everlasting songs. Forever piping songs means to say the songs which are produced by the pipe by this melodist, which are not getting tired. Such songs are everlasting songs, and the music produced by this pipe will always be new, forever new. Such music, when you hear it, which always seems that always the very new music. So this is how we can say the eternal music has been portrayed here. Now, line number 25 and 26. More happy love, more happy, happy love, forever warm and still to be enjoyed. Happy wala pyar, happy love. The word happy is overused a little bit in these lines. We find here the word happy has been used a number of times, 1, 2, 3, Three times happy love, more happy, happy love. Why? Because everything looks good. The love is forever warm and fresh on the point of being enjoyed. The images on this urn will always express love, that is happy love, even for the coming generations. The warmth of such love will not be affected. So, the happiest love is portrayed here. The warmth of this such kind of love will never come down, which will always be enjoyed. Forever panting and forever young, all breathing human passion for far above. So the lovers are forever young and out of breath with excitement. The lovers which are depicted on the urn will always be young. They will never meet the old age. The human passions will not change. They will always remain young. The lovers are above human passion here. The lovers which are portrayed on this image, on this urn, they are always above the human passion, which means they are at a distance from it, at a very distance from it. They are at a very better place. So generally, the intensity of love comes down. We have always seen, जैसे जैसे उम्र होती है किसी की, प्यार कम होता जाता है, something like this. Generally, the intensity of love comes down due to the age factor. But here, it doesn't happen like this. Because the image on the urn depicts the everlasting love, permanent love, not the transitory love, permanent love, हमेशा हमेशा के लिए जो कभी जुदा नहीं होता है, something like such kind of love, all breathing human passion far above. So such human passions are very very far, because here we are talking, the urn depicts what kind of love? The permanent love, the permanent love, the eternal love. Now the last two lines of the stanza number 3, the line number 29 and the line number 30 of this ode, that leaves a heart high sorrowful and cloyed, a burning forehead and a parching tongue. Cloy, Cloy, cloy means to say sickness, tiredness. So human passions makes you worried and tired, and such passions can make also you feel ill. Sometimes you feel very much sick whenever you have such kind of human passions. So the passion make you feel ill, as if you have a fear, as if you have a fever, with your forehead burning, your tongue sticking in your mouth, getting dry. But this urn is far above all such feelings. So whenever we express our love to a beloved, we feel such kind of feelings. So the poet says that, but the urn is quite far away with such kind of human passions, such kind of feelings, like feeling tiredness, feeling worried, getting the headache, getting feeling very much sorrow, right? Getting your tongue is quite getting parched, very getting thirsty, getting dry. But this turn is above all such feelings, because this urn depicts what kind of love? The eternal love, the very much permanent love. So let's try to understand this stanza in a very simple manner. The stanza number 3 develops the thought from the stanza number 2. What's the thought? Nothing can change in the world of picture on this urn. It gives us more examples of that. Then it stresses the idea that as little as human passion is not a part of the scene on the urn, neither is human suffering. All breathing human passion far above. So the passion and suffering go together. That is a central idea of this stanza number 3. And the art is clean of that. Art has nothing to do with such kind of sufferings, or at least the conventional art in the Keats time, which has nothing to do with the suffering. So here we have plenty of paintings and the poems which are full with suffering, but probably that is not the case with Keats looking for in his own art. He was looking for a way to say something meaningful about how art could talk about life and how art can help us tolerate suffering. This is the central idea of the stanza number 3. That's all. That is about the stanza number 3. Stanza 4. So here we are now looking at another picture on the urn. The poet begins, "Who are these coming to the sacrifice? To what green altar, O mysterious priest?" So this stanza is very important, and here we will experience a sacrifice because some people are coming to a sacrifice, and there's a reference to an event of animal which is burning and the animal which is going to be offered to the god. So a mysterious priest is leading a group of people to a green altar to see the sacrifice. Altar means a high place where the offerings are made to the gods. So what picture, what image does this urn depict here? The poet says that there is a mysterious priest who is leading a group of people towards a sacrifice where a kind of where an animal is to be sacrificed to please a god, and there's a green altar, a place where this sacrifice is to be done. Now the poet further says, "Leadest thou that heifer lowing at the skies, and all her silken flanks with garlands dressed." So heifer means young cow, dressed means dressed. The priest is leading a young cow to be sacrificed. The cow is lowing at the sky because it knows that it could not, it's not, it knows that it's about to be killed and offered to the gods. So the cow is well decorated with flower chains. So we find here the mysterious priest who is leading the young cow, and the young cow is about to be sacrificed. This young cow is completely decorated with the garlands, with the flower garlands. Now the question is here, what little town by river or seashore or mountain built with peaceful citadel? Citadel means to say fort. So now the poet asks a question here, from where these people are coming to see the sacrifice? From which town are they coming? They are coming from a little town. Are they coming from a little town which is located at the bank of the river or seashore? Or are they coming from such a town which is built, or are they coming such a place or such a kind of fort which is built on the mountain? So the people in the scene on the urn are imagined to be from a little town. Now, because of this, what has happened when the people they come from the little town, from the town to see the sacrifice, what happens is emptied of this folk, this pious morn, and little town, thy streets forever more. Pious means to say pavitra, this worshipping morning. So, as people have come to see the sacrifice on this auspicious morning, the whole town seems empty. The streets are deserted. Nobody could be seen on the street here. So, completely empty. No people can be seen on this. In this little town, all the streets are khali. Nobody will silent be, and not a soul to tell why thou art desolate can ever return. Desolate means to say can ever return. So there won't be, desolate means nobody. There won't be anyone when everybody has come from the little town to see the sacrifice. Obviously, nobody will be there in the town to tell the reason why people of this town had left. So the whole town will be empty, nobody will be there. So you cannot ask anybody why the people are not here, where have they gone, why the town is empty, why the town is desolated, why the town is deserted. So there is no one to give the reason because these people will never return. The image shows that these people will never return to the town. No soul, no one will come back to explain why the town is empty. So the thou here refers to the town here. Why thou art. So thou here refers to the town here. And again, we find here there's an example of how the scene on the urn is frozen in time. and is devoid of humanity and life. So again, we find here the images or the scene on this urn is completely frozen in time. We don't find any of the life here because we find only the barrenness. We find here the deserted look of the town, the deserted look of the streets. So let's summarize the stanza number 4. In this stanza, the poet sees a sacrificial procession depicted on the urn. There's a crowd of people. A priest is leading a heifer, a cow, which is decorated with garlands to the sacrificial altar. The crowd might have come out of some town which may be situated by a river or on the seashore or on a mountain. The town must have been empty at the time and it must ever remain empty. That's about stanza number 4. Stanza 5. O Attic shape, fair attitude with breed of marble, men and maidens overwrought. So here, the poet says that Attic means to say from Athens, the capital of Greece. Breed is an interwoven pattern like a bread, and here it refers to the marble. So this urn belongs to Greece, and it's an example of eternal art. It is made of marble, and the pictures of men and women can be seen. So the urn is decorated with marble men and women. With forest branches and the trodden weed, thou silent form dost tease us out of thought. Trodden weed means to say the plants which are falling under the feet of the tree. So the urn has an image of green trees with the plants which are falling down to its feet. Thou silent form dost tease us out of thought. So the poet is again talking to the urn, and the poet says that you are silent, the urn is silent, the quiet, silent urn, which cannot speak, which cannot challenge our thought, but it is always eternal. As doth eternity cold pastoral. Cold pastoral here refers to the peaceful country life. The speaker calls the image on the sea image or the scene on the urn as cold, not sweet. So the cold pastoral is a paradox here. We have already seen here why the scene is cold, because there is no real passion, and the scenes and the images on the urn are frozen, but they may look sweet and attractive. Line number 46. When the old image shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain in midst of other woe. Woe means difficulties. So when the people who live now, they will definitely grow old and die one day, but the urn will stay alive, eternal, amidst all kinds of troubles and the challenges, because the urn is eternal. The images, the images which are depicted on this urn will always remain unaffected by the power of time. But we will grow old, we will die one day. Then ours, a friend to man to whom thou sayest, beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all you know on earth and all you need to know. The poet says that you will be friend to man. The urn may be friend to man, and one day this urn to whom you will say, what? Beauty is truth, truth, beauty. So the urn depicts here beauty is truth, truth is beauty. That's all we know on this earth, and that's all we need to know. In other words, beauty is all we need in order to discover the truth, and the truth is itself beautiful. This is all we who are mortals know, but it's all we need to know. We should not impatiently go in the pursuit of answers which we don't need to have. So the word on earth here imply that there's perhaps more to be discovered beyond the earthly and the temporal confines of mortal life. So let's now summarize the stanza number 5. The urn is a genuine specimen of Greek art. sculpturing a number of men and maidens, branches, and weeds. It seduces us from the ordinary life of thought into the extraordinary life of the imagination. It will continue to exist even when the present generation will die out, and in the midst of sufferings as yet unknown to us, it will teach us the lesson that beauty and truth are identical. The only lesson we ought to know: beauty is truth, truth is beauty. This is what we need to know on this earth. This is about stanza number 5. In nutshell, Keats' Ode on Grecian Urn taps on the themes of immortality of art, beauty, and romanticism. The main theme of this poem is the immortality of art. To depict this theme, John Keats uses a Grecian urn and the emotive paintings on this piece. Each painting incites complex emotions in the speaker's mind. So, dear friends, this is how I have tried to explain this ode on Grecian urn line by line. I hope you will be able to understand, and kindly do comment in the chat box, like my video. Thank you so much. Stay connected with my channel, Mukesh English. Thank you once again.